Alright, what's going on everybody? I'm back with another video, and today I'm making this video again about The Witcher. Of course, if you've seen the title and the description, you know that this is about gamers having to make a choice. Pretty much, if you're gaming, you have to make a decision here on console, and on PC it's the same thing. They're no better. You know, with all of the shitty ports that happen on multi-plat games, PC has not been avoiding the same problem that I am about to talk about. So I'm talking about multi-platform issues and gamers having to make a choice here. What am I talking about? I'm talking about The Witcher 3. So apparently you have the Xbox going around, and yes, I said Xbox, but that's just a term for the people that they prefer Xbox like me, but instead of them being honest about when Xbox makes a mistake, they make like all kinds of excuses. They get into that Dalsim Street Fighter syndrome of just reaching and trying to grab anything they can to make a point, or to just make it sound like Xbox is cooler than PS4. Which, and just for practicality's sake, let me just say this: it really is a preference thing. It depends on what you like. You know, it really depends on what you do with the console that would make you decide whether one is better than the other. You can't just put them together and say, okay, this one has a faster this and that one has a faster that, so that one's better. Because when you get down to the numbers, when you really break it down, PlayStation has its advantages that are pretty much obvious, but Xbox actually has advantages in other fields as well. So it's not really just about going, okay, this one has better hardware, or this one has a better processor, or this one has better graphics, or this one has better RAM. It's really about your preferences because of the way that the hardware is so similar to one another. But anyway, let's get into the subject now. Okay, with The Witcher, apparently the Xbox One is doing an upscaling feature called Dynamic. Now, once again, I spoke about this in another video, and that was the video before this one, where upscaling is a bad thing, because we all saw with PS3 and Xbox 360, the PS3 was doing upscaling to 720 up to 1080, where the Xbox was actually at native 720 or native 1080. Well, it wasn't really native 1080, but the way that it worked pretty much was that the PS3 suffered from having the stretched out visual, because when you upscale, you're pretty much stretching out the image, or pretty much technically what you're really doing is you're taking something at 720 and you're processing it at 1080, which means that you're putting all the information for 1080 there, but the colors which makes it 1080 are not really there. So that's really what you're doing. Now, apparently with The Witcher, Xbox is upscaling at times when frame rates are not strenuous. They're upscaling at 1080, and at times when the frame rates get strenuous, of course a lot of movement on the screen is happening, it downscales to its native resolution, which is 900p. Now, the reason that it's able to do that, of course, is because the upscale is simply that, an upscale. It's not really doing anything except telling you that it's 1080, but if you look at the colors are not there. And it can increase, of course, but it would never be accurate, or it would be 1080. So hopefully I can explain that for some of you guys that don't really understand that, because that's actually what that is. That's the difference when you upscale. Now, here's the thing about gamers having to make a choice. Apparently, a lot of people are knocking the Xbox for having this, oh, it's not native 1080, ha ha ha, yeah, yada yada yada. But gamers, here's where you have to make a decision. I commend Xbox for saying, okay, look, we can't give you 1080p constantly, but what we can do is give you performance. You have to decide when you're playing a game if you would rather the frame rates be stable or the resolution be high, and you have what's called torn screens. When the frame rates gets out of hand in a game and you're running, you ever see yourself running and the next thing you know, the screen just like jumps and changes and you're like stiff or not moving, or next thing you know, when you move, something just happened but you didn't see it? That's frame rate drops, and those are like terrible frame rate drops, to the point where you get something called screen tear. Screen tear is when you get a huge frame rate drop or dip in one sudden shot, where you may go from 30 to 12. That'll cause you to see that thing where the screen just changes automatically, and you're like, it's like you blink your eye, next thing you know you're at another part of the map, or the camera slightly tilts over. That's it not being able to keep up with the frame rates. So I commend Xbox for saying, okay, look, we want this game to run stable, because it is a game that has action and it's an RPG and it's a lot of movement. You want it to be stable. So the people that are knocking Xbox, they actually may have done the right thing here by taking the road of performance over resolution. Now, Sony, we all know that this is going to be bad for you guys, because you guys have a day one patch promised to you, and day one patches usually tend to simplify something bad for the game going down the line. Now, this may not be the case with The Witcher 3, but let's be honest, that's a bad sign that people are already complaining about frame rates and the game is not out. Now, they're claiming they're going to bring out a patch to address the issue, but this is just a bad thing. Now, will the patch make the PS4 version do the downgrade? Maybe it will. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But at least Xbox is saying, here guys, we want this game to perform properly, so this is what we did. Although I'm not really cool with the upscaling, at least they have enough sense to realize that performance is more important. When you're playing a game, you want to enjoy the game. You don't want all kinds of errors and glitches and screen tears, especially in a game where you're like battling or fighting and next thing you know the screen is just jumping all over the place, because that's what happens with that situation. And apparently PlayStation is suffering from this at the moment. People are complaining and saying that the frame rate drops are terrible on PlayStation, which is not really a surprise because it's not downscaling, it's forcing 1080 at the cost of performance. So gamers have to make a decision here. You have to just start deciding, do you want frame rate and performance or do you want resolution? Because apparently with the consoles we're not getting both. Now as far as PC 9 out of 10 times will not have this problem, but like we said, only time will tell what people will notice in the game. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree that these games should have went with performance or should they go with resolution? Because apparently they can't do both. We're at this point where we just have to be honest and admit that these games cannot do both. And what decision would you have chosen? Would you have chosen, I want 1080p with poor frame rates, or do you want better frame rates with lower resolution? This is the choice that we face. This is what's happening. This is what The Witcher did. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that that was smart for Xbox, or is it just the peasant box? Or do you think the delay station should have did what Xbox did? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's your boy Jimmybgaming, and I'm out of here.